The charm of the English waterside, the calm of an angler waiting by his rods, the country in full summer fig. Yet behind that facade is the one-on-one battle of man against fish. And if you want any particular angler next to you, I don't think you can do better than Jan Porter, one of the top carp anglers of today and the face of Shimano angling kit. I have come to join him at Bishops Bowl Fishery in Warwickshire. Jan, hi.
Hey Charlie,
Good to
how
see
you
you.
doing? How are you?
So you've been here since first light. How have you been getting on?
Well, it was a little bit slow when we first got here, but then it was just a case of introducing some bait, and then from about 7 o'clock until you just arrived, it went absolutely crazy. The fish started feeding. In fact, I've just literally netted 2 at the same time, so I've got 2 carp ready for you.
Brilliant. Well, we probably ought to put them back.
Yeah, no, it's literally been in there like 5 minutes. So
well, let's have a look.
a couple of nice mirrors.
Good.
So it's not very often you get a brace.
Certainly isn't. This is a sort of Blue Peter moment. Here's 2 I prepared earlier.
Well, it's not very often. I have to say that when you're fishing this kind of technique, the chances are when you're fishing close, you will get a couple of fish.
Look at those.
Yeah, so we've got a nice, almost fully scaled mirror there. And you can see that they're pretty lively.
They are. Those great big scales.
Yeah.
You can tell the age from those.
Well, a fishologist could.
Right. A fisherman.
Yeah, an angler like myself would probably struggle, but they're not young carp. These are carp that have taken a little while to get to this sort of size. So yeah.
Right. Let's stick them back.
Yeah. Well, that.
See that muffin? It's a fish supper.
Hey, look at that.
Not surprised.
Okay, let's put them back.
Brilliant. Oh, they're a bit happier now.
Well, you know, can you imagine if somebody's got 2 30-pounders, and I know anglers that have caught 2 30-pounders almost simultaneously.
Good heavens.
They've got one in the net, they're playing with it. It's not quite a 30-pounder, but it's still full on, and they're such beautiful fish carp. I've loved them since I was a kid, but
There goes one.
there's one.
Huge cow-like movement, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd think they'd just fire away as soon as you let them go.
No, they're quite
But they
relaxed.
just swim away nice. They know where they're going. They're safe. This one's not quite sure, but
There he goes.
yeah. Once they're in the water and they know they're going back to get some more food, then they're happy.
Good. Right, well, let's go and feed them some more food. And
Yeah, exactly.
try and catch another one.
It looks like a long, slow, gentle business, but don't be fooled. The kit that Jan uses is space race stuff. He starts by telling me about his baits.
Well, looking at this was just making me hungry.
Well, that's the whole idea. It's not intended for humans, but this
It's
is
actually good enough to eat. Can
this is carp. It's carp fodder.
yeah,
This is
not that hungry actually, come to think of it.
well, you're a braver man than me, Charlie.
It looks a bit like Weetabix, doesn't it? Mushed up Weetabix. Well, what's it made of?
Well, there's a lot of brown breadcrumb in there. There's some additives that you'd consider to be protein based. I don't know. It's a secret bait, and that's all I'm going to say.
Secret. Everybody's got their secret bait.
I detect from the smell of it that there's got some fishy things going on. But I do use a couple of proprietary brand new.
And what's this machine here? Has this got something to do with it as well?
This is the mixer. This is state-of-the-art ground bait mixer. In the olden days, when I fished at international level, we'd have a week of training, and you'd be making 3 or 4 gallons of ground bait up for a 3-hour match, and then the same again in the afternoon, 7 days, and then the World Championships over a weekend. And your wrists used to really, really hurt. And then somebody had the brainwave of using a catering whisk and a portable drill and just fizz it all up in a matter of seconds.
Mechanisation, it's ideal.
Yeah.
Because there's so much kit here, isn't there? You've got radio on the back of your head.
Yeah.
What does that do?
Well, this is a receiver for the electronic bite alarms, or buzzers as they call them. And what happens is as the line travels over a wheel or over a vibration detector, it sends a signal from there, transmits a signal to this receiver.
Yeah.
But I've got all the audio switched down, so you won't hear any high-pitched beeping and squealing that you'd normally associate with buzzers. All you hear is like a rasping noise, which is at the back of my head. And the reason I do that is twofold. Firstly, because I don't like noise pollution. I mean, the whole idea is to come fishing, and you've got to put up with the airplanes and the twittering of the birds. That's just, it's one of them things. But when bite alarms are just shrieking all around you, it's off-putting, and other anglers don't like it, so automatically you can alienate yourself. But there is another side issue to it, and I think that sometimes a fish, on harder days when it's not fishing well, they can detect the sound waves. So all reasons given, then I tend not to use it on alarm. And at night, if I'm fishing in my bivvy and I have this right next to my pillar, I can actually feel it because I'm a bit mutton. So my excuse is I'd have to have them too loud, and that would upset everybody else, and I probably wouldn't hear them in their sleep. So I prefer.
This is like you're the Beethoven of fishing. You can't hear the music anymore. You can just feel it.
Yeah,
through the piano.
I think that's a good analogy. Yeah,
So,
I'll live with that.
So they could go. They can hear us stomping around on the bank, and it doesn't seem to put them off at this time of day.
Well, I think stealth's important. On a commercial fishery that's got a huge biomass of fish, you can get away with anything you like. You can jump up and down as long as they're getting the bait and there's a lot of fish feeding and they're competing. It doesn't matter. But that's not really the premise to approach a fishing. You've got to try and treat every situation as if the fish are wary, as if noise is going to make a difference. It's not just the noise, it's also to do with your profile on the bank. We're standing quite high and proud here.
Should we be down a bit?
Well, normally speaking, you'd keep a low profile depending on what your backdrop is. So if you've got a lot of trees behind you, regardless of what you're wearing, as long as you keep below the tree line, you won't be silhouetted against the skyline. And that's the key to it, really. So fish don't see the colours so much. It's down to them seeing a shadow or a shape.
Because it's all about. I mean, this large pile of stuff here is all about what's happening 30 yards over there, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there you've got a little feeder, haven't you, and an actual bait on a hook underneath the feeder. What is going on as we're standing
Well,
here?
it's a small container. I've actually got some in here. I'll just grab one out to show you. There's lots of swim feeders, and again, depending on what part of the world you come from, they get different nicknames. They call them plastic pigs in some parts of the world. Splodgers is another name. But for all intents and purposes, it's just a means of holding an attractor, be that a ground bait or loose feed particles, in very close proximity to the hook bait.
And that dangles, does it, on the line like that with
That's
the hook
correct.
underneath?
Yeah. So you've got the line there. What I tend to do is feed the line through this so that the hook bait's just protruding.
Does that buzz on the back of your neck? It must make you jump a bit and make you think, I've got a fish. You must be in a state of high panic at all times.
It's a nice adrenaline rush. That's what it is. This time of year I don't do much snowboarding, so I get this one. But in the middle of the night, if you're fast asleep, gone to the world, and one of them fizzes off, and it really is going, then from being completely asleep to being wide awake and really pumped up, it is particularly of interest to a lot of anglers. And I think that's part of it. It's a rush that you get. It sounds crazy because it's fishing. You don't normally associate probably sail fishing or marlin fishing, but to be completely fast asleep and then all of a sudden be wide awake and there's something could be 30 pound tugging on the end of your line. You don't even know what day it is or where you are for a start, and you've got this thing trying to pull you in the lake. It's fantastic.
Because the first rush of a carp is one of the great fishing experiences, isn't it?
It is. It is. Out of all the fish I fish for, all right, barbel, a very powerful fish. You get into game fishing territory. Salmon I've never fished for, but there's pound for pound. There's a lot of fish that's very similar.
You do very well with some of one of these.
It's not very purist, is it? But in terms of that initial run, they say they'll pick the bait up, they'll actually hook themselves, and then they'll swim away. It's not because they're distressed they just want to get away. It's an unusual sensation, and then they'll swim away. And a big carp can really put on a rate of knots very quickly. They're very powerful, short, sort of stocky fish, I suppose. Round, stocky, very, very muscular, and they'll power off. And sometimes you get screaming runs. I had one earlier before you came, and I thought, you know, it's got to be a double figure fish, but it was only about £4.
Really? But it had that sort of...
Oh, yeah. Well, the actual indicator, the hanger, hit the underside of the rod with such force. I thought it's going to chip the carbon. You know, it really did bang. And I've not had a bite like that for a long, long time. You know, a run they call them. But
yeah. Well, glad I'm armed.
Armed and dangerous. They just get greedy and they see something there that they want and they'll just try and get it. If I can get one in the rushes, I'll show you what I mean, which I can't at the minute. So it's just pointless leaving it there.
Really? They won't come out even 5 feet?
They'll come out, but it's just going to take longer, and I might as well just, you know, cast it in the right place. I mean, I'm normally pretty good at this, but...
I must say, if I could cast a fly as accurately as you're casting this, I'd be pretty happy.
Yeah, I'm sure you can, but that's a bit away for a fly, wouldn't it? Salmon rod, maybe.
Yeah.
How far is it? It's about 30 yards?
Yeah.
Well, you probably can do a fly. I'm struggling at about 20 yards with a fly. Better, but not quite. Not quite.
I mean, does the splash actually makes them go woohoo food? Let's go there.
It does. It does this time of year, and when the when the metabolic rate's up and there's a lot of fish, they know what that is, and it's feeding time. And again, they drop the guard because if they don't get it, some other fish will get it. And don't forget, not every one of them gets hooked anyway. So they sort of take the chances that one's going to get hooked, and then they'll have a sort of hookless situation when he's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think as a fish, but
you got to, yeah, yes. But that's one of the joys, isn't it? You disappear from here and you're underwater over there, aren't you?
If I get one on the rushes, Charlie, you'll see what I mean. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get it so it lands virtually where the first rush is. See them rushes just bashing there then?
Yeah.
You see them?
Yeah.
That's where I've got to be. That's exactly where I've got to be. So,
good Lord. So that's a fish moving those rushes, not the wind.
Yeah, it's waiting for this. But I think the important thing was it's where the fish are, and sometimes it's just you're just wasting time and energy fishing.
Even 2 feet from the right place.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned the rat holes. It's just an expression.
I was amazed to learn that the fish hang around in the water margins like that. I shall never look at a patch of reeds in the same way again. Knowing where they live, it doesn't take long before Jan's into one.
As you can see, they want to live over in them reeds, and if you don't get it right on the edge of the reeds, you might as well hold the hook and chuck the rod in.
So he's dashing back to the reeds at the moment?
Well, he's just trying to get out of the way at the moment. I just need to borrow a landing net here, Steve. It is a tench. So I did say that before I saw it. It's a little tinker. Thank you. Well, I've been fishing little boilies, and I've just put a worm on there. I just love worms, the old tinkers.
Tinkers?
Yeah, tinker.
Doctor fish.
The doctor fish indeed. So slippy too, bars of soap they call them.
And that big spade-like tail, which is so characteristic.
Well, on this kind of gear, to be honest, I'm a little bit overgunned for small tench like this, but even so, like you say, they've got so much muscle. A couple of pound, and it's you can always guarantee catching a tench if you put a worm or a red maggot on.
Yeah, lovely. Right.
I'll pop that one back.